So pretty. Let's make this spiral loop necklace. I already started putting this necklace together. I've got 2 segments of clusters already done, and I'm using freshwater pearls. These are large. These are about 7 by 10 millimeters. I'm using some citrine nuggets. I'm using green crystals, tiny freshwater pearls. I've got spacer beads in between, some daisy spacers, black spinel, and this little red daisy is a Czech glass dark red daisy. And so anyway, let me show you how to put this together. You're going to need, for supplies, you're going to need 2-inch head pins. These are 24 gauge, and you're going to need about 20 of these. And for tools, you'll need flush cutters, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and bent chain nose pliers. I'm using like a chain that's a little bit thicker. It's like a link chain, and I've got some jump rings, a clasp, and if you want to put an extension, you can. So let's get started on our clusters. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you how to make this cluster at the end. We're going to use our black spinel. We're going to put our dark red daisy spacer on, and then coming in with our round nose pliers, I'm going to pinch the top down, bring the wire to the back, rotate my pliers, bring the wire up, over, down, rotate my pliers again, and bring the wire to the back. But instead of taking out my round nose pliers, I'm going to use this wire and I'm going to wrap it around one time in order to secure this loop, because I don't want this loop to fall apart in my cluster. Then I'm going to put on my freshwater pearl. See if I can find the hole. And I'm going to cut down just the top of it, just a little bit, so my spiral isn't so long. And then coming in with my round nose pliers, I'm going to roll my wrist to the right while I keep the tension on with my thumb, my left thumb. And when I get to the top of the pearl, I'm going to stop. So I have my spiral loop on one end, and I have a little loop in the middle. So let's do this one. We're going to do it a little differently. I'm going to put the crystal in. I'm going to cut off about, this must be about a centimeter. I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to start rolling my wrist to the right while I keep the tension on with my left thumb. Until I come to the top of my bead, and then I'm going to stop. So I have a spiral on the top of my green crystal to match this one. So let's do this one. I'm going to use my 2-inch head pin, put on my freshwater pearl first, put on my bead, then I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, bring the wire to the back, rotate my pliers, come up, over, down, rotate my pliers again, and bring the wire to the back. Then I'm going to take the wire and wrap it around one time to secure my loop. Then I'm going to add my freshwater pearl. I'm going to cut down a little bit of my wire so my loop is not that long. Coming in with my round nose pliers, turning my wrist to the right, keeping the tension on with my left thumb until I get to the top of the bead. So there I have my bottom spiral and I have my middle loop. Let's do the citrine, cutting off some from the top, about 1 centimeter, using my round nose pliers, keeping the tension on, and wire wrapping, or not wire wrapping, forming my loop until I get to the top of my nugget. And let's do the last one. We've got crystal, daisy spacer, coming in with our round nose pliers, bringing the wire to the back, rotating our pliers, coming up, over, down, rotating our pliers, bringing the wire to the back, keeping our round nose pliers in, bringing the wire around 1 time. Then we're going to add our little pearl, cutting off a little, excuse me, a little bit of wire from the top, coming in with our round nose pliers and rolling until we reach the top of our pearl. So we have a spiral at the bottom and a loop in the middle. So the pattern that I have to put this together is I'm going to use a 3 cluster, then I'm going to use 1 bead, a 3 cluster, 1 bead, 3 cluster, and our pearl. And this is the ending, our citrine nugget and our bead. So this is what we have. We have 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, our large pearl, and our bead. Okay, so let's put this together. So picking up where I left off, right behind my bead, I'm going to add my 3 cluster, and I'm going through the middle loop, not the end loop, but the middle loop. So that's 3. Then I'm going to add 1, and then going through the middle loop again, a 3 cluster, 1, and our 3 cluster going through the middle loop. And then I'm going to add my bead, my daisy spacer, my large pearl, daisy spacer, and bead. Now let's see what that looks like. Looks so pretty. Okay, we're going to continue on. We're going to start with our 3 cluster going right through the center. I'm staggering my beads because I want to do like a 3 cluster and then a 1 bead, because I want the beads in the cluster not to be all one length. So that's why I'm staggering it with 3 and 1. And then I'm going to go 3 and 1 and 3 and then add my bead, my large daisy spacer, my pearl, daisy spacer, and bead. Okay, so let's go through how many clusters we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 sets of clusters, and they each have 5 segments in them of clusters. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, we're alternating between 3, 1, 3, 1, and 3. And then we have our large pearl that's flanked with large daisy spacers and a bead on each side of that, like that. And then again, we have our clusters alternating between 3, 1, 3, 1, and 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cluster segments, 1, 2, 3, 4 large 7 by 10 millimeter freshwater pearls. We have 2 large citrine nuggets on the end, and then I'm going to put a bead on the end of that, and then we're going to wire wrap this to the chain. But first we have to measure the middle segment to see how long that is, and that will determine the length of our chain. Okay, so let's measure this out. I'm going to put my clasp and my jump ring on the end, so that's going to take up about a ½ inch, and then I'm going to use about 1/4 inch for my wire wrap at this end. So then I'm going to measure the rest of this. It's going to come out to about 6 inches here. So I want to make a 17-inch necklace. So 17 minus 6 is 11 inches. So I will need about 11 inches of chain. Okay, so then I'm going to take my 11 inches of chain. I'm just going to fold it in half and then cut it at the half mark. I'm going to take my ending and I'm going to go ahead and wire wrap it to the other segment of the chain, coming in with my chain nose pliers, bringing the wire to the back, changing out for my round nose pliers, coming up, over, down, rotating, bringing the wire to the back. I'm going to open the door, add the chain, making sure that's in the loop, like that. Pinching it down with my chain nose pliers and then wire wrapping around. I can just use my fingers since this is soft wire. Okay, then I'm going to cut off the excess, pinch the burr down, we can add our jump ring to one end, put our clasp on, close it up with our bent chain nose pliers. I want to add an extension chain to this, so I'm going to open up this package. I got this package from Amazon. It's got different colored extension chains in it. It has gold, the silver color, and the rose gold color. So let's get out an extension chain. And we're going to add that to our jump ring. Slip that on and close it up. Making sure that's closed, giving it a squeeze. And there we have our beautiful spiral loop cluster necklace. Thank you for watching and subscribing, and see you again next time.